Did you know the average person loses 2 hours a day to distractions? Imagine what you could achieve if you got that time back. Or, do you ever feel like there just aren't enough hours in the day? Like no matter how hard you work, your to-do list keeps growing? What if I told you the secret to getting more done isn't working harder, but working smarter? In this video, we're unlocking 7 proven time management hacks that successful people use to stay ahead. From prioritizing your tasks to avoiding distractions, these tips will revolutionize how you manage your day. Stick around until the end. Tip number 6 might be the game changer you've been looking for. Hi, my name is James.
And I'm Olivia.
Welcome to today's podcast. Get ready for some actionable tips and strategies to take control of your time and boost your productivity.
Today, we're diving into an essential topic. Time management becomes successful in 2025. Let's dive in.
Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive, and this time it's all about how to get a grip on your time.
Yeah.
And actually reach those goals you have.
Right.
I know you guys have been asking for this one, so we're really excited to dive into it.
Very much so.
And we're going deep on some awesome advice from Productivity Pro.
Olivia, that's me.
Yeah, you shared 5 game-changing strategies for really squeezing the most out of every day.
Absolutely.
And I gotta say, these aren't just your run-of-the-mill time management tips.
Right.
These are the techniques that seriously successful people use to level up their lives.
Yeah, we're talking about making those simple shifts
Right.
in how you view your day.
Yeah.
Not some crazy system that takes a PhD to figure out.
Exactly. And I think that's what people are really looking for. You know, something that's actually actionable.
Yes.
So I'm pumped to get into it. And I'm sure you are too.
Absolutely.
Especially since it was you guys who requested this deep dive. I think we've all been there, you know.
Oh, yeah.
That feeling of just
Yeah.
too much to do and not nearly enough time to do it.
Yes.
Like you're always chasing the clock.
You are.
It's exhausting.
Absolutely.
I know I've been there many times.
For sure.
So tell us,
Yeah.
where do we even begin to untangle this mess?
Okay, so the first strategy we'll unpack is all about prioritization. It's really the foundation for everything.
Right.
And it starts with understanding this idea of the 80-20 rule.
80-20 rule, I've heard of that.
Yeah. So
But remind me, what is it exactly?
it's the idea that 80% of your results come from only 20% of your efforts.
Oh.
So think about your last week.
Okay.
What were the 1 or 2 things you did that really had the biggest impact
Yeah.
of reaching your goals?
Okay.
Those are probably part of your 20%.
Makes sense, yeah.
Right.
You're not trying to do everything.
Yeah.
You're trying to do the right thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how do we pinpoint those crucial tasks, you know?
It's easy to feel like everything's important.
Absolutely. And that's where this great question comes in.
Okay.
What's the one thing
Okay.
I can do today to make everything else either easier or unnecessary?
Ooh, that is a good question.
Yeah, imagine starting each day with that.
Wow.
It forces you to cut through all that clutter
Right.
and hone in on what actually moves the needle.
Yeah, it's like you're making your to-do list,
Right.
but you're doing it strategically.
Absolutely.
Not just like
Not just reacting.
reacting to whatever's in front of me.
Right.
Exactly.
You're choosing
Yeah.
what deserves your time.
I love that.
So once you've identified that one thing, you got to protect the time for it,
Okay.
which brings us to the next strategy.
All right, lay it on me.
Time blocking.
Time blocking. I've heard that term thrown around a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
So what is it in a nutshell?
Think of it as like treating your time like it's a valuable asset,
Okay.
like money in the bank.
Right. You wouldn't let someone just like waltz in and take that money, would you?
No way.
So why do we do that with our time?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right.
So how does that translate to actually managing my time?
Okay. So.
I mean, I have calendar. I schedule my meetings, but
Yeah.
I still feel like I'm constantly getting pulled in a million different directions.
But that's because most people use their calendars just for appointments.
Okay.
But time blocking is about assigning blocks of time for everything.
Wow.
From focused work sessions,
Okay.
personal projects, even downtime.
Okay.
So imagine your calendar,
Okay.
but instead of just appointments,
Yeah.
you have blocks of color representing different activities.
So you're making it visual.
Exactly.
Right.
You're seeing your day in a whole new way.
I like that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
what if things come up? Life's unpredictable.
It is.
So do I have to stick to this schedule rigidly?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
It's about having a framework, not a prison.
Right.
You can adjust your blocks as needed.
Okay.
But the key is having that initial structure in place.
Okay.
So you're making those choices
Yeah.
about how you spend your time rather than just reacting to whatever pops up.
You're in control,
Exactly.
not your day.
Yeah.
I love that.
Right.
Okay, so we talked about prioritizing,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're talking about protecting our time.
Right.
What's next?
Okay. This one might sting a little,
Ooh, I don't like the sound of that.
but it's important.
Okay.
We need to talk about the myth of multitasking.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I was afraid you were going to say that.
Oh.
I consider myself a master multitasker, but I have a feeling you're going to tell me it's not all it's cracked up to be.
I hate to break it to you.
Go ahead, break it to me.
And to all our listeners out there who think they're multitasking masters, research shows that multitasking actually reduces your efficiency by up to 40%.
40%.
Yes.
That's huge.
It is.
So what's the alternative? I mean, there are only so many hours in the day.
That's where single tasking comes in.
Single tasking.
Yes.
Tell me more.
Imagine an athlete
Okay.
training for a marathon.
All right.
They don't try to work out every muscle group at the same time, right?
No, they focus on one thing at a time.
Exactly. They build up strength and endurance, and then they move on to the next area. It's the same with our brains.
Oh, I see.
Give your full attention to one task at a time. Complete it, and then move on to the next.
Do one thing well.
Yes. You'll be surprised how much more you accomplish.
Right.
And with less stress, too.
So it's quality over quantity.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm starting to see the light here,
Good.
but I got to be honest.
Yeah.
Still clinging to my multitasking ways.
I understand.
So
Yeah.
are there any quick wins we can implement?
Absolutely. That's where the 2-minute rule comes in.
Okay. 2-minute rule. What's that?
If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it now.
Oh.
Don't put it off.
Right.
Just knock it out.
So
Yeah.
responding to a quick email or putting away that pile of papers that's been staring at me for days.
Exactly.
Okay.
Those little tiny tasks might seem insignificant, but they add up and they create mental clutter.
Right.
By doing them right away, you free up mental space
Okay.
and energy for the bigger thing.
Small wins,
Yes,
big impact.
absolutely.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. So we've covered
Yeah.
prioritize time block,
Yes.
single task,
Yeah.
and conquer those 2-minute tasks.
I got it.
What's the final piece of the puzzle?
Okay, that's where reflection comes in.
Reflection.
Yes. I recommend ending each day with a quick review.
Okay.
Just a few minutes to think about what worked,
Okay.
what didn't, and what you can do differently tomorrow.
Makes sense.
Right.
But to be honest,
Yeah.
usually by the end of the day, I'm so exhausted.
I understand.
The last thing I want to do is analyze my to-do list.
I hear you. It doesn't have to be a big production.
Okay.
Just 5 minutes
Mm-hmm.
of quiet reflection.
Okay.
Think about it this way.
Right.
If you were training for a marathon,
Yeah.
you wouldn't just run the same route every day without analyzing your performance right.
Right.
You'd look at your pace,
Yeah.
your stamina,
Mm-hmm.
what you could improve.
Okay.
It's the same with time management.
Okay.
Those daily reflections help you improve.
Gotcha. So it's not just about planning for the future.
Right.
It's about learning from the past.
Exactly.
Okay. I can see how that would be valuable.
Yeah.
And it kind of ties in with that
Yes.
question about finding the one thing
Exactly.
that makes everything else easier.
Right.
By reflecting on your day,
Yes.
you can start to see patterns.
Absolutely.
You can see where you're wasting time
Yeah.
and make adjustments for the next day.
That's the beauty of these 5 strategies.
Yeah.
They work together to create a system for success.
It's not about having more time.
Right.
It's about making the time you have work for you.
Absolutely.
I love that.
So let's take a moment to really let these ideas sink in.
Okay.
And when we come back,
Right.
we'll dive deeper into each strategy
Sounds good.
and explore how you, our listener,
Yeah.
can start applying them to your own situation.
Awesome. I'm excited to hear more.
Me too. Welcome back to our deep dive on mastering your time. Before we dig deeper, I want to emphasize that these strategies aren't about becoming a robot or squeezing every second out of your day.
Right.
It's about creating a life where you have more time for the things that truly matter to you.
Yeah. I think that's what really resonates with me. It's about, feeling in control.
Yes.
Not feeling controlled.
Absolutely.
And speaking of feeling in control,
Yeah.
let's revisit time blocking for a minute.
Okay.
I think a lot of people, myself included, when they hear time blocking, they think like rigid schedules.
Yes.
No room for spontaneity.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned earlier that it's not about creating a prison. It's about building a framework.
Exactly.
So how do we actually make time blocking work
Yeah.
in the real world,
Right.
where things don't always go according to plan?
I'm glad you brought that up, James, because flexibility is key
Okay.
to successful time block.
Yeah, it's not about,
Right.
scheduling every minute of our day down to the second.
It's about setting those intentions for how we want to spend our time and then being willing to adapt as needed.
Okay.
Think of it like creating a roadmap for your day.
Okay.
You have a destination in mind.
Mm-hmm.
You might encounter some detours or roadblocks along the way.
Right. That's life.
Exactly.
So how detailed should those blocks be?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Do I need to block out time for things like checking email
Right.
or going to the bathroom?
That's a great question. And the level of detail really depends on your personality and your work style.
Okay.
Some people thrive on having every minute accounted for. Others prefer a more flexible approach.
Yeah.
So it's really about figuring out what works best for you.
Experiment and find that sweet spot
Absolutely.
between structure and flexibility.
Exactly.
What about the tools?
Right.
I'm a digital calendar kind of guy.
Yeah,
But are there other ways to time block?
of course.
What do you recommend?
The tool itself doesn't matter as much as the intention behind it.
Okay.
Some people use physical planners, others use apps.
Right.
Some even use a simple whiteboard.
Wow, really?
It's about finding a system that you'll actually use
Okay.
that helps you visualize your day.
So the visual aspect is important.
I think so.
Okay.
I personally love digital calendars
Yeah.
because I can easily move things around, set reminders,
Okay.
color code different activities.
You're a very visual person.
I am.
That makes sense.
Yes.
But what about dealing with interruptions?
Right.
I mean, let's be real. Life happens.
Yes, it does.
So how do we protect those time blocks? When unexpected things come up?
That's where boundaries come in.
Boundaries. Okay.
It's about communicating your availability to others.
Right.
And setting those expectations for when you can be reached.
So if I have, time blocked out for focused work,
Yeah.
I let people know,
Exactly.
hey, I'm unavailable.
Unless it's an emergency.
Right.
Right? And the same goes for personal time.
Okay.
If you've blocked out time for family dinner, put your phone away.
Yeah.
Be present with your loved ones.
Respect the boundaries.
Exactly. Both for yourself and for others.
Love that. Okay, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about single tasking.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier that multitasking actually makes us less efficient,
It does.
which honestly kind of blew my mind a little bit.
I know. It's a hard one to swallow.
But I'm starting to see the light here.
Good.
So how do we break free from that multitasking madness
Yeah.
and embrace this power of focusing on one thing at a time?
It starts with awareness.
Awareness, okay?
Noticing when you're trying to juggle multiple tasks at once.
Yeah.
And ask yourself,
Mm-hmm.
are you truly being effective?
Okay.
Are you giving each task the attention it deserves?
Right.
Are you making careless mistakes
Yeah.
because you're trying to do too much?
It's about being honest with ourselves.
Absolutely.
Right.
Really assessing whether multitasking is helping us or hindering us.
But in today's world, it's tough to completely eliminate multitasking.
It is.
So are there strategies we can use to at least minimize it?
Yes, one strategy is to create a dedicated workspace for each task.
Oh, interesting.
So if you're working on a writing project, have a designated desk or table
Okay.
where you only do writing.
Gotcha.
If you're checking email, do it in a separate location.
So it's like you're creating mental boundaries
Exactly.
for each task.
Yes.
Okay, what about technology? Our devices are constantly vying for our attention.
Yes, there
with
is.
those notifications
Yes.
and updates. Any advice on taming the tech beast?
Technology can be both a blessing and a curse.
It really can.
When it comes to single tasking,
Yeah.
it can help us automate tasks, streamline our workflow.
But it can also be a huge distraction.
Absolutely. So the key is to be intentional about how we use it.
Yeah, okay.
Turn off notifications.
Right.
Silence your phone. Close unnecessary tabs.
Yeah, create that environment
Exactly.
that supports focus.
Yes.
Okay, so we talked about awareness, workspace,
Right.
technology.
Yes.
Any other tips for mastering the art of single tasking?
One final tip is to practice mindfulness.
Mindfulness. Okay.
Pay attention to your thoughts. Notice when your mind starts to wander.
Yeah.
Gently bring it back to the task at hand.
It's like training a muscle.
Exactly. The more you practice, the easier it becomes.
Love that analogy. And speaking of skills, let's move on to the 2-minute rule.
Okay.
You mentioned if a task takes less than 2 minutes, we should do it right away.
Yes.
It sounds so simple.
I know.
but I struggle with this one.
I think a lot of people do.
I tend to let those little tasks pile up
Yes.
until they become this big, overwhelming mess.
And it's easy to dismiss those small tasks as insignificant, but they really do impact our mental clarity and our overall sense of control.
I see that, yeah.
Think about it this way. Every time you put off a 2-minute task, you're adding it to your mental to-do list, which just creates clutter and overwhelm.
It's like having a bunch of little pebbles in your shoe.
Exactly.
Individually, they're not a big deal.
Right.
But collectively, they make it really uncomfortable to walk.
Absolutely. And the beauty of the 2-minute rule is that it's so easy to implement. So the next time you encounter a task that takes less than 2 minutes, just do it.
Don't think about it.
Don't overthink it.
Just do it.
Just take action.
Okay.
So instead of telling ourselves, I'll do it later, you're training your brain to take action.
Well, what about those tasks that are almost 2 minutes, but not quite?
Right. That's a great question. And it comes down to your judgment.
Okay.
If a task is going to take you 3 or 4 minutes, it's probably not worth interrupting your flow to do it right away.
Okay.
But if it's something that can be quickly knocked out.
Like a quick email.
Exactly.
Okay.
Go ahead and do it.
It's about being mindful of our time.
Yes.
And our energy.
Exactly.
And speaking of mindfulness.
Yes.
Let's wrap up this part of our deep dive by talking about the final strategy daily review. You mentioned taking a few minutes at the end of the day to reflect.
Yes.
What worked? What didn't? What can we do differently?
Exactly.
So how do we make this a habit?
Yeah.
Especially when we're tired and ready to just unwind.
I think the key is to keep it simple and enjoyable.
Okay.
Don't think of it as a task on your to-do list.
Right.
Think of it as a time to celebrate your wins, acknowledge your challenges, and set yourself up for success tomorrow.
So it's not about, beating ourselves up over what we didn't accomplish. It's about learning from our experience and making adjustments for the future.
Exactly.
What about those days when we feel like we didn't accomplish anything? How do we find something positive to reflect on?
Even on our most challenging days, there's always something to be grateful for.
Okay.
Maybe we learned a new skill.
Right.
Maybe we helped a colleague. Maybe we simply made it through the day.
Okay.
It's about shifting our perspective and focusing on the positive.
Finding those little nuggets of wisdom.
Yes.
Even amidst the chaos.
Absolutely.
All right, I think it's time to take a quick break and let these ideas sink in.
Sounds good.
When we come back in part 3, we'll talk about how to put these strategies into action.
Okay.
And create a life that feels more aligned with our values and goals.
I'm excited.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
Yes, welcome back.
We've covered a lot of ground. Talking about time management. Everything from the 80-20 rule to the 2-minute rule.
Right.
We've explored some really powerful strategies.
Absolutely.
For taking control of our time.
Yes.
Creating a life that feels more aligned with our values and goals.
And I hope our listeners are feeling inspired
to
put these strategies into action.
Me too. And I think it's important to remember that this isn't about becoming a productivity machine.
Right.
Or striving for some kind of unattainable level of perfection.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you.
Yeah.
Experimenting with these strategies, adapting them to your own needs.
So it's all about progress, not perfection.
Absolutely.
And making those small, sustainable changes that add up to big results over time.
Over time.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to challenge you, our listeners, to take action.
Yes.
Pick one strategy that really resonated with you and commit to implementing it for the next week.
I love that challenge.
And really observe how it feels.
Yes.
How does it impact your productivity? Your stress levels?
Absolutely.
Your overall well-being?
Become a time management scientist.
Yes.
In your own life.
Track your progress. Note the challenges.
Right.
Celebrate those wins.
Yes. And remember, there's no right or wrong way to do this.
Exactly.
What works for one person might not work for another.
It's all about finding what works for you.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this episode, I want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay. I like it.
What is the one task you can do tomorrow
that
will have the biggest positive impact on your goals?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Let that question marinate.
Yes.
Think about it as you go about your day, and then take action.
Absolutely.
Make that task a priority.
Yes.
And watch as you move one step closer to achieving your dreams.
That's a perfect note to end on.
Remember, time is our most precious resource.
It is.
Let's use it wisely, intentionally, and with purpose.
Until next time. Keep diving deep, keep exploring,
Yeah.
and keep making the most of your time.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye, everyone.
I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content.